Hello everyone and welcome to the virtual presentation for my student data tracker sheet. This data tracker is intended to help our teachers and other administrators in our building be able to help track and look at and assess student data beginning in kindergarten and following them up through fourth grade. On this document we have a demographic page that will start every student's file. There will be one in separate folders contained for kindergarten through fourth grade, and each student will have a file that looks just like this. Each of the pages will contain different information. This first page is going to contain, as I said, the demographics, so information about parents, their emails, phone numbers, the student's current grade, who their teacher is this year, academic considerations for things such as IEPs, if they're an ELL student, have a 504, are receiving services for speech or OT, and then other considerations for things such as classes, attention issues, or if they see our social worker. This demographic page will contain the current school year, which for this will be 2016, as it will be hopefully implemented in my building at the beginning of next school year. And then at the bottom, it contains all of the students' school years. So as I said, this will continue with them from K through 4. As the students are promoted from one grade to the next, their entire file will be transferred into the next grade level's file, and then they will have access to the students that they have for that school year. And then we will have the assessment data pages. And as I click on the data assessment page, we'll see that there are different testings that we do in our building, and they are all contained here with the exception of PARCC, which is not currently used as something that we use to establish a student's needs, say for RTI services or considerations for a PST or problem-solving team to assess whether or not it is necessary to pursue the possibility of needing an IEP or some type of 504 accommodation with a student. So you'll see that the tests that we have listed here: NWEA for reading and math, AIMSweb for fluency, STAR, which we use for comprehension for vocabulary, and then running records, Fontes and Pinnell, which are also fluency and comprehension type assessments. And then I do also have access testing down here in the bottom, as a good majority of our students in most grade levels are taking the access test, even beginning in kindergarten, first grade. So let me go ahead and show you a sample with a fake student. And our fake student is Mr. Joey Smith. And Joey, let me get to his data page. We have listed for Joey that his mother's email, his father's email, contact number. This is their home number, but it could possibly be a cell depending. And there would be a spot here for notes so that we can add in who the primary contact person would be, which phone number would be best to reach them at. Joey is starting out in kindergarten with us next year, and I've listed myself as his fake teacher. I've also listed that perhaps Joey has an IEP for math and reading. He may also be receiving speech services for articulation, and then he also receives OT. Some special notes that would be important for looking at and evaluating his testing data are that he is required through his IEP possibly to have a change in setting and extended time. And then there's also an additional starred note here about needing assistance with computers. And then Mr. Joey is also a kiddo who should be wearing glasses daily and is someone who will see our social worker for some type of social work intervention or lessons of sorts. And notes for the reasons behind or why it might be important is that he easily frustrates during testing and that he may have frequent outbursts. So let's go ahead and dive in. You'll notice when I switch over to the kindergarten page that it also still says Joey Smith. Our file up here still also says Joey Smith, just so we can kind of check and balance that we're in the right student's information when we're talking about them. And for kindergarten, it'll also list that it is the 2016 school year. If I were to look ahead a little bit into first grade, it will change and show that that is the 2017 school year. Okay, let me go ahead and switch back to kindergarten. So in kindergarten, not all of the assessments are taken. For example, they don't do NWEA for reading or for math, but they do participate in AIMSweb testing, which for them is letter and sound recognition type things. And for Joey, he received a score of 27 out of the total possible points, which put him in the 3rd percentile. An academic note or a testing note that might be important to help us determine if these are valid scores for Joey are that maybe that day he forgot his glasses and that he frustrated during testing and had an outburst. Okay. Going down and looking at STAR testing, he took that a week prior, received a score of 0, and we were not able to get a valid percentile ranking for him based on that because he was unable to actually complete the test. He couldn't function the computers to answer, so retesting will be required with assistance of some kind. So we would ask an assistant or a teacher to sit with him while taking that assessment, allow him to provide that teacher with the answers that he feels best suits the question, and then the teacher would actually function the computer by clicking the mouse or buttons on the keyboard depending upon what is required. Okay. And then as the school year goes on, we would continue to add information. If he turns out to be someone who in kindergarten can read, then we would assess him through running records in Fontes and Pinnell. He is not an ELL student, so there would be no access data for him. That would just be left blank. There are also spaces for us to test fall, winter, and spring. Some assessments we do fall, winter, and spring. Others are just 2 times a year. AIMSweb and STAR, most of these are the 3 times a year. NWEA is the only one that is different. And based on how we're trying to schedule and park in our building, that depends upon how that works as to whether or not we'll be NWEA testing or MAP testing 3 times a year or twice. Once all the information is added and updated, then we can use the information contained here, as I said, to establish whether or not a student is in need of RTI services, either in Tier 2 or Tier 3 services for reading or math, and whether or not continued concerns might lead us to believe that there's a possibility of needing to pursue an IEP or 504 accommodations. And we would be able to determine that and look at that year to year, which is why it's important that we have all of this information contained in the same document versus having to switch from file to file and having multiple pages or multiple tabs open on a student in order to be able to assess their data. Hopefully this was helpful, and please feel free to contact me with any questions. I'd be happy to help you out. Thank you.